Hey, welcome back everyone. Ever since the very end of the Skywalker saga, a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney, Lucasfilm, Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, and exactly what they have in store for the future of the franchise when it comes to movies and TV shows. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that they are currently in a phase of desperation and damage control to really get the ball rolling again, to really get Star Wars to the point of pre-Disney. They want to get it to the point where how it was back in 2011 or 2012, before Disney fully took over Lucasfilm and before George Lucas pretty much gave everything over to Kathleen Kennedy. Now, the thing about Bob Iger and Chapek, the two Bobs, as I like to say, are really hard at work on really trying to deliver as much as they can when it comes to TV shows. That's their primary focus right now before they go over to movies again. They're really focusing on The Mandalorian Season 2, the Kenobi TV series, the Ahsoka Tano TV show, The Bad Batch, and that's just to name a few. They even have plans to deliver as much as 3 Star Wars TV shows a year eventually in the next couple of years. Now, with that being said, of course, we have, Iger and Chapek doing everything in their power to really deliver something very special to the Star Wars fans around the world. This new universe that's going to incorporate tons of Star Wars Legends material, and of course, even original ideas that were created by George Lucas that never made it into the old expanded universe. So they're also using scrapped content for this new universe that is going to be quite expansive. Now, on top of all of this, what's really intriguing all has to do with Kathleen Kennedy and a specific Star Wars writer. Now, with the Skywalker saga now over, both Disney and Lucasfilm have been developing their new Star Wars universe and focusing more so on their new Star Wars trilogy of films in order to deliver a new mythology to Star Wars fans around the world. Now, it's explained, however, that behind the scenes, Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy, it's explained that behind the scenes, before Kathleen Kennedy lost her creative control, she fired a series of Star Wars writers that were developing major projects for the new Star Wars universe at the time. It's explained that the real reason as to why Kathleen Kennedy fired director and writer Colin Trevorrow from the original version of Star Wars Episode 9, which was titled Duel of the Fates, is that Kennedy was not satisfied with the fact that Trevorrow was focused on Luke Skywalker more so in the story and was not making Rey as relevant as a character in the final chapter and not making her too overpowered. Now, it's described that Colin was aiming to focus more so on the characters associated with the originals and the prequels and paying more respect to those characters and even specific worlds from the prequels such as Coruscant. Now, Kennedy believed that by going back to those worlds from the prequel trilogy era, it would create less ticket sales. Now, Kennedy was also not happy with the title Duel of the Fates and felt that it was too strong of a connection to the prequel trilogy era, and felt that the title of the movie needed more attraction for the fans. So, once again, guys, this is yet another prime example that Kathleen Kennedy does not know exactly what she is doing. Let's stop right here for a second. When we examine the title, The Rise of Skywalker, it's pretty obvious that Kathleen Kennedy knew exactly what she was doing. She knew that fans would wonder why Skywalker was in the title and exactly whether or not it had to do with either Luke and or Anakin, where little did the fans know it all had to do and only to do with Rey calling herself Rey Skywalker at the very end of the movie. I think that's one of the major reasons as to why a lot of fans were very much let down with the fact that Rey calls herself a Skywalker, is because the entire title revolves around that one tiny scene at the very end of Episode 9. And that's the one thing, obviously, that a lot of fans had a lot of problems with the character of Rey. Now, Kennedy kept pushing for FAVREAU, or should I say, for Colin Trevorrow, to change the connection to the prequel trilogy era and felt that the title of the film needed more attraction. She felt that the title of the film needed changing and that Colin Trevorrow refused to change the title as he felt it paid great tribute to the prequels and creator George Lucas. Now, this is what started creative differences between, of course, Colin Trevorrow and Kathleen Kennedy before director J.J. Abrams stepped on board to take care of the final chapter of the sequel trilogy. Now, Kennedy also had big problems with Colin Trevorrow's use of the new villain known as Tor Valum in Duel of the Fates, and felt that this villain fell flat with the very end of the sequels and pressured Trevorrow to insert Palpatine into the latest Star Wars film. Now, this is, of course, also something that led Colin to actually feel pressured to do, and was also against all of it, and led to further creative differences to the point where his version of the film was overall denied by Kennedy, and that Kennedy fired Trevorrow and hired Abrams to bring back Palpatine and call the film The Rise of Skywalker, while also making Rey as powerful as possible in the series' end. J.J. Abrams behind the scenes was also on edge of doing this for the final chapter, and just went along with it, seeing of what happened to Colin Trevorrow in Star Wars. Now, additionally, it's described that Kennedy also fired Trevorrow over refusing to delete a big scene that would bring back the world of Naboo in another draft of his script, and that Kennedy was afraid that too many callbacks to the prequels would create problems by Star Wars fans who had issues with George Lucas back in the 90s and the 2000s with the prequel trilogy movies. So once again, guys, like I say, I mean, this again proves that Kathleen Kennedy does not know what she's dealing with when it comes to Star Wars. She does not necessarily know exactly, what the franchise needed, right? So let me just focus on Colin Trevorrow here for a second. Did I like Jurassic World? No, I did not like the movie at all. I felt that Colin Trevorrow was not a fit, and I felt that he had a lot of weaknesses in the writing and the directing of that movie, whatever have you. Now, the thing about Jurassic World is that it had potential. Same exact thing went with the Episode 9 film, is that it had potential. There were a lot of strong points that Colin Trevorrow had, and I would even go as far to say stronger points than what J.J. Abrams was dealing with. But we often got to remember here that it was Kathleen Kennedy pressuring Abrams to bring back Palpatine, to do the entire concept of, Rey calling herself a Skywalker and all these crazy things, right? It does make you wonder what Abrams would have been like if he was not pressured by Kennedy, and what the film would have turned out to be. Again, after all, he was working with Lucas and Chris Terrio at the time as well, before a majority of their scenes were deleted by Kathleen Kennedy. In fact, Abrams was going to use a portion of Colin Trevorrow's work for Episode 9, and Kathleen Kennedy denied that. She did not want that to happen. So, looking at Trevorrow, all he really wanted to do was he wanted to create a title that was more true, that was more so a callback to the prequels. It was a better title by a million. I mean, if you look at The Rise of Skywalker and Duel of the Fates, honestly, Duel of the Fates sounds like a more bigger, a better close, if you will, to the very end of the Skywalker saga, and is a nice callback to where it all started in Episode 1 with that amazing theme. Duel of the Fates. A lot of fans love it. Now, originally they were going to have John Williams working on a remix of Duel of the Fates between both Rey and Kylo on the second Death Star. Kathleen Kennedy scrapped that. She wanted that to be completely thrown into the trash, and we can all look at Kathleen Kennedy responsible for that. However, Colin Trevorrow seems like he had ambition. It seems like he had more of a drive, if you will, for Star Wars, because he, at first, was really working on his own, and then Kathleen Kennedy just did not like what he did. Meanwhile, J.J. Abrams, at first, was given the opportunity to work with Lucas and Chris Terrio, and same exact thing happened. Kathleen Kennedy was not happy with what they put together. So it is going to be a very interesting process to see what Star Wars is going to look like in the next couple of years without Kathleen Kennedy having a major influence on the creative decisions of the movies and the TV shows and whatever have you. I myself, I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to look like with the Mandalorian and other Star Wars movies and TV shows coming out in the near future. It is going to be quite a ride throughout this decade. It really is. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where Star Wars is going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and maybe even beyond that, if it can make it that far. So, like I said before in the past, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.